Hello, my dear students. How are you? I hope that you will be very fine, and I am also very fine. Today, I am going to discuss new chapter which is called as units and measurements. In this chapter, I will teach you. In this chapter, I will teach you about units and dimension, and I will also teach you errors in measurement in this chapter. Now I am going to start physical quantities. Now I am going to start what are the physical quantities. First of all, I will define physical quantities, and then after I will divide physical quantities into three parts. I will divide physical quantities into three parts. First one is fundamental quantities, and second one is derived quantities, and third one is supplementary quantities. Physical quantities in this chapter, physical quantities are mainly divided into two parts. First is fundamental quantities, and second one is derived quantities. Fundamental quantities are also called as basic quantities. Supplementary quantities are plane angle and solid angle. But fundamental quantities, but there are seven fundamental quantities. There are seven fundamental quantities. I will discuss one by one. First of all, I am going to discuss physical quantities. What are the physical quantities? The quantities which can be measured are called physical quantities. Those quantities which are measurable are called physical quantities. The quantities which can be measured are called physical quantities, such as mass. You can measure mass if you go to market and you buy vegetable 1 kg, 2 kg, 3 kg. This is mass. Mass can be measured. Distance also can be measured, 5 km, 6 km, 10 km, and so on. Time can be measured, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Volume, can you measure volume? Yes. If you go to petrol pump to fill petrol in the vehicle, 2 kg, 2 liter, 4 liter, 5 liter, etc. This is volume. A speed, in each vehicle there is a speedometer which shows how fast, how slow, how fast, how slow. A speedometer can measure how fast, how slow. Means a speedometer can measure a speed. Vehicle is moving with 60 km per hour, 80 km per hour, 90 km per hour. A speed can be measured by a speedometer. A speedometer is connected in each vehicle, connected to each vehicle, such as bike, car, truck, train, etc. Therefore, a speed can be measured. Momentum also measured. Momentum can be also measured. Area can be measured, force can be measured, etc. Force is measured in Newton, area is measured in meter square, centimeter square, momentum is measured in kg meter per second. Okay, but these quantities cannot be measured. Two students, I have two students. If one student is more beautiful, more smart or beautiful, more beautiful than other, how much? It cannot be possible to say how much beautiful 2 kg, 3 kg, 4 kg. It cannot be possible. Only you can only feel one student is more beautiful than other. You can only feel, but you cannot measure this quantity by this quantity in kilogram, gram, etc. You cannot measure. You can only feel. If a board is more white than your copy, but how much? It is impossible to say how much white it one you can only feel. You can only feel, but you cannot measure exactly. Okay. You can only compare, you can only feel which is more, which is less. Okay, which is more bright, which is more less bright, you can only feel. Which is more white, which is less white, you can only feel, but you cannot measure again. Okay, so these quantities are non-physical quantities. In physics, we study about only physical quantity. You cannot study, you can never study about these quantities. Therefore, I left this quantity here, and now I am going to divide physical quantity into three parts. Physical quantities are divided into three parts. First one is fundamental quantities, also called as basic quantity, and second one is direct quantity, and third one is supplementary quantity. There are two supplementary quantities. One is plane angle and other is solid angle. First of all, I will discuss about fundamental quantities, also called as basic quantity. Those quantities which are independent are called fundamental quantity. You can say in other words, those quantities which do not depend on other quantities are called fundamental quantities. Are called fundamental quantities. Okay. First of all, I am going to define fundamental quantities. The independent quantities are called fundamental quantities. You can also say, in other words, those quantities which do not depend on other quantities are called fundamental quantities, such as mass, length, time, etc. There are 7 fundamental quantities. You will remember 7 fundamental quantities which are mass, length, time, temperature, electric current, luminous intensity, amount of substance. This is tricks. First three MLT and last four Taylor. MLT Taylor. You can observe on the road. You can observe Taylor on the road. MLT Taylor. Okay. There are 7 fundamental quantities which are MLT Taylor. M for mass, L for length, T for temperature, T for time, further T for temperature, E for electric current, L for luminous intensity, A for amount of substance. If anyone asks from you, what are the fundamental quantities and total number of fundamental quantities, you can answer those quantities which do not depend on other quantities are called fundamental quantities. And there are 7 fundamental quantities which are MLT Taylor. M for mass, L for length, T for time, and further T for temperature, and E for electric current, L for luminous intensity, and the amount of substance. Okay. You will remember these fundamental quantities. Total number of fundamental quantities are 7. Remaining physical quantities except plane angle and solid angle will be derived quantities. Remaining physical quantities other than these 7 and plane angle and solid angle will be derived quantities. Now I am going to discuss derived quantities. What are the derived quantities? D for depend. Those physical quantities which depend on fundamental quantities are called derived quantities. D for depend. D for depend on which quantities? Fundamental quantities. Depend on which quantities? Fundamental quantities. The physical quantities which depend on fundamental quantities are called derived quantities. Okay, such as a speed, force, area, volume, etc. How can derived quantities depend on fundamental quantities? Suppose a speed is equal to distance by time. This is formula. Okay, a speed is equal to distance by time. Distance means length, time means t. Length and time are fundamental quantities. Therefore, you can say that a speed depends on length and time, which are fundamental quantities. Therefore, a speed depends on fundamental quantities. That's why a speed will be derived or fundamental, derived quantity. Okay. I have already told you all the physical quantities except 7 fundamental quantities and 2 supplementary quantities, solid angle and plane angle, will be derived quantities. Okay. Now I am going to discuss supplementary quantities. I have already told you total number of supplementary quantities are 2. There are 2 supplementary quantities. First one is plane angle and second one is solid angle. What is plane angle? You have already studied in previous classes plane angle. The inclination between any two straight line is called plane angle. This is plane angle. If I move my hand parallel to this, then these two lines do not touch with my hand. Okay? Therefore, I can say that this is plane angle. This lie in same plane. Therefore, this will be plane angle. But solid sphere, hollow sphere cannot lie in same plane. What is solid angle? And the unit of plane angle is radian or degree. You have already studied in previous classes. Unit of plane angle is radian or degree etc. Grade is also the unit of angle, plane angle. So I can write etc. Okay? Mainly unit of plane angle, radian or degree. I can use in physics. I can use only degree or radian. Grade is not used in physics, but grade is also the unit of angle, plane angle. What is solid angle? The angle made by a surface at a point is called solid angle. Suppose this is surface and this is point. A number of lines drawn from circumference to the point. Okay? And this is gap. This gap is called solid angle. Okay? I have already taught you in vector chapter. Area of parallelogram, area of triangle. Area is a vector quantity whose direction is perpendicular to the surface. Suppose this surface and it has direction in this direction, and we break this vector into two components, a cos theta and a sin theta. If surface is perpendicular to R, then its direction will be along this direction. Solid angle is defined as the ratio of total surface area perpendicular to R and R square. Therefore, we take a cos theta because surface is perpendicular to R and the direction of area will be perpendicular to this surface along this direction. But for a sin theta, surface will be like this and direction will be perpendicular to the surface. Here definition of solid angle is the ratio of total surface area perpendicular to R and R square. It is defined as, solid angle is defined as the ratio of total surface area perpendicular to R and r square. Therefore, we take a cos theta, we cannot take a sin theta. We take a cos theta because this surface is perpendicular to r. Therefore, its direction will be perpendicular to this surface in this direction. That's why I take a cos theta, I cannot take a sin theta. Unit of solid angle will be ST radian. If you denote a unit by using two letters, then first letter will be capital and second letter will be small. Okay. What is the value of solid angle at the center of a sphere? A sphere is three-dimensional surface. I have already taught you. Solid angle is the angle made by a surface. Okay. Therefore, the surface of this sphere makes an angle at center. What will be this angle? According to definition of solid angle is defined as the ratio of total surface area perpendicular to r. Here r is this, and we draw a tangent at this point. We see that radius is perpendicular to the surface. Okay. Here also radius is perpendicular to the surface. Here also radius is perpendicular to the surface. According to definition of solid angle, it is defined as the ratio of total surface area, and this area should be perpendicular to r. Okay, got it? Total surface area perpendicular to r divided by r square. Solid angle is defined as total surface area perpendicular to r and r square. Therefore, total surface area which are perpendicular to r, total surface area of a sphere which are perpendicular to r will be 4 pi r square and divided by r square. This will be 4 pi. This is the solid angle at center of a sphere. Got it? 4 pi ST radian. Because the unit of solid angle is ST radian. If you give unit by using two letters, two alphabetical letters, then first letter will be capital and second letter will be small. ST radian. Therefore, total solid angle at center of a sphere will be 4 pi ST radian. Now, I am going to end the class today. Have a nice day. See you again tomorrow. Namaskar from my side.